Welcome to the Wander Creative Podcast, your guide to digital marketing. Journey with us as we navigate organic social strategies, discover the latest in paid advertising, and explore current trends in content creation. Your weekly roadmap to figuring out the ever-changing digital world starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Wander Creative Podcast. My name is Dan. I'm joined here by Chloe, and super excited to be talking about organic versus paid. So really, Chloe and I are going to both be kind of hosting this one and going back and forth. It's a little bit of a duel because I'm on the paid side. She's on the organic.
We're like competing,
Yeah, we'll
it's
see.
Like enemies.
We'll see which one's better, which one wins.
Which is better.
Yeah, not really. Anyways, like I said, my name's Dan. I'm the director of digital marketing here. So really, I kind of head up more of the email, SMS, paid ad buys, and I'll let Chloe introduce herself.
Yeah, so I am the social media coordinator at Wander, so I handle a lot of the organic socials for our clients, kind of running social strategy, planning out content, things like that. Organically, of course.
Organically.
We don't do paid ads. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, whoa.
Okay.
Amazing.
So I guess we can get right into it. Dan, what do you think is the real difference between organic and paid for all of our viewers that are listening?
It is in the name. No, it's like it's paid advertising is really, and paid social media is a pay to play kind of thing where you are paying to reach, and we'll talk about this later, but you're really paying to reach people beyond your followers.
Right.
Obviously things like TikTok, Instagram Reels have kind of changed that game a little bit, but for the most part, it's more about external reach rather than internal engagement and stuff like that. What do you think?
Awesome.
What's the difference?
Organic?
Yeah.
I can talk a little bit about organic. Okay. I think that the biggest thing in organic social media is kind of just building that, organic following and kind of making those relationships with the people that are following you. Organic social media establishes your voice. It is building out your platform beyond what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to promote, and kind of building that internal relationship with the people that you're going to try to target in the future, to buy things and, the whole gist of it. But yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And kind of with that, I like that you said that because there really are such important differences,
right,
and it's so valuable to have both of them.
I was going to say, they really run hand in hand. Can't really have one without the other, or if you do, you just have to lean in strategically too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there will definitely be harmony in this friendship by the end of the podcast, but right now it's still 1v1.
Yeah.
No, but what would you say that, kind of continuing on that line, is a value that organic has that paid really doesn't? You'd mentioned that organic and really hitting your followers. Kind of add a little more to that.
I think that, I think organic can really lean into that relatable factor of I'm following this person because we share a common denominator, or we are sharing a value, or we're sharing, something in common that's making them want to see your content.
Yeah.
And I think that organic really leans into that, and that's something that paid can't really zone into, kind of thing, because you can target certain people, but you don't really know everything about their life, So.
And they don't necessarily know you. I could be reaching a new audience so that they discover me, but it's not oh, cool, it's this person. It's, And kind of too that and I'll give organic credit here, that, thanks to things and I know I talked about it, Reels and TikTok and stuff, it's interesting because organic really used to only be, I can see their stuff if I follow them.
Yeah.
And then ads were this is how you grow that.
Right.
And now that really is, there's such an emphasis on going viral or being discovered through organic. And I think that's just a very interesting blurring of the line that we've seen in the past couple of years even.
Right. And I think that even just boosting posts or using that paid advertisement is kind of the little push that is connecting the people that wouldn't have seen it in the first place to your organic content that will be in the future, that will give them, it's right in front of their face when you're paying for it. And then they're oh, this looks like something I would enjoy. I'm going to go follow that person. And then in the future, they're going to see that organic content that's coming up because they saw the ad,
That's a great point. And I didn't even have that written down in my notes, but that there is an element too that we have been telling our clients, like, hey, if this has been performing, or that you really need this to be seen by your audience, the good thing about that kind of viral element of discovering new people that you don't follow is that you can do exactly that. You can be discovered. But the downside to that is that your content might now be buried by your own followers. And that stinks, because back then, if you followed them, you would see the content they post. And now it could get buried, and we're seeing that we're even recommending, sometimes it's like, hey, promote that post that already exists so that to your followers, so that you can make sure it gets in front of them. So there definitely is maybe a little more pay to play game now than there was. So well, what do you think, when do you think you should start advertising if you're just trying to get out there, you're trying to get your things promoted? When is a good start? What is a good start? Absolutely. I think it kind of plugs into what paid does that organic maybe doesn't, which is like, it helps you test things like landing pages, finding your audience, call to actions, testing out copy, all this stuff that really kind of in real time allows you to A/B test that stuff. I know that when to start advertising has always been such a frequent question that we get, because it's like, that's the big one. It's like, all right, so I don't know, like, should we bother if, like, say it's an artist, it's like, should we bother the moment we release the first single, or should we let the ball roll, and then once we get organic traction, we then put
reevaluate.
And so I would say when to start advertising. Yes, there is no right answer.
Question.
Yes, there is no right answer there, but I would say that it would be our recommendation to just start. And that you start little. I mean, it's like, we're not talking about, tens of thousands or, whatever that monetary value has to be at the front end. Just start with, a $50 campaign, $100 campaign, and just start learning the back end. If we're talking, like, I'm kind of more talking right now about social media advertising, since we're doing paid versus organic. So I'd say learn the back end of ads. We actually have an Ads 101 course that we do offer. We also offer consulting in terms of advertising and organic. But yeah, it's really just like, get comfortable with the platform, spend a couple bucks to start learning about how to target, how to find your audience. I mean, if you're asking that question, it's probably you're probably ready to just, you could probably start. But yeah, you can play with those smaller budgets, so it's a little bit less of a risk.
And it doesn't have to be that intimidating. I feel like when you like put money on it, or people are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to like do something wrong. And then it's like, has all this backlash kind of thing. But I think if you're just starting from something, then you're going to build it eventually.
Right.
So how do we think organic and paid advertising go hand in hand? And I know we were kind of talking about that a little bit earlier, but what would you say is the common denominator there?
Yeah, I mean, if you already do have a social media accounts, I think you already have that data coming in of who's engaging with your stuff. And so I would say that you can utilize that to get a pulse of who wants to engage with your brand. So if, we've talked about this in another episode as well, but like, if you have men in their mid-30s who are the most, engaged with your brand, you already know off the bat kind of who you're targeting, a little bit of that user persona. So that's huge. I would say target those people, use organic following for lookalikes. That's huge. As Meta is building its AI for its targeting, it's getting better. We really have found some great success with using lookalike audiences on Meta. And I'd also say even so often we'll say, hey, this organic post that you put up is performing great. Let's use it as an ad. So I think there's so many areas where it's like, awesome. If it's resonating with your audience organically, that's who you're wanting to use to find new people who are within that realm. And so I think there's so many things, like we said earlier in the podcast, it's they really do go hand in hand. It's not a battle. It's not a battle. I need to tell myself that.
You can have both.
Yes. So should I boost a post in 2023?
Is that still a thing? Boosting.
You know, it's funny. We use that word and it's like, it's a yes and no. The boost button is a hard no.
Okay.
It's that blue boost button
pops up right when you launch a post, and it's like, are you sure that you don't want to boost this?
You would like to give us money, right? And we say no to that. But we joke about that. That form of boosting limits your reach. Mm-hmm. There are less targeting options. So don't click that button. But you can still promote it, and we just call that promoting, or a dark post, if you will. But yeah, we still promote on the back end. You would just go into the advertising, the ad platform. You would build a new campaign out however you want to target it. And then on the creative tab, you can say use existing post. Okay. And that way you can then go in and find that post that you wanted to boost, and any engagement that gathers from a paid side will still be shown on the organic side. But that way you'll have way more customization. Right. You'll have, all of the options. So another piece of advice that we like to give is that you definitely don't, the point of promoting a post that exists is to pour gasoline on a fire, right, rather than try to light or pour gasoline on a sopping wet pile of wood. So it's really not like, hey, this isn't performing well, let's try to pump some money into it to get it to do something. If it's not performing well, it's probably because your audience isn't engaging with it as much. So we say, like, if it's engaging, let's throw some money at it and keep that going. Let's get it in front of some new people and stuff like that. So awesome. So I would say that's definitely the kind of the boosting.
So yes.
So yes.
But just no boost button.
Right, no boost button, but definitely promote.
You can be creative with it.
Organic content. Yeah.
I love it.
So with kind of this organic versus paid conversation, what would you say, and I can answer the paid side, what would you say are a couple key indicators of a successful organic post versus what I can answer, which would be kind of a successful paid post?
Yeah. I think determining the success of a post is so, like, I don't know, that's hard to differentiate, but I think that if people are interacting with it and it's like engaging really well, and I think that, I don't know, that's a whole nother realm, but I think when you're paying attention to like likes on Instagram, likes are out. Likes, that's like an opinion that I have. I think that if people are saving it, that's like a new upcoming thing. Like, you save the post, you can save it to like a collection. You have like your collections in Instagram, and you can go back and like for whatever. And commenting and resharing on stories. I think that is the most like up and coming thing.
Totally.
And I think that likes are out. And I think a lot of people focus on that. Like, they focus on how many likes they're getting. People buy likes because they think that it looks like they have, a lot of engagement. But I think focusing on the engagement of an organic post is like the number one recommendation, because if people are going out of their way to comment something meaningful on it, then it obviously made an impact on them. And I think if people are resharing it to their story, then they're wanting to share it with their friends. They're wanting to share it with the people that follow them because they thought that it was important. Yeah. And yeah, I think that really paying attention to like the engagement of the post, like not just what it looks like on paper is great, or like how it looks on your feed or how it looks organically, I guess, but really like paying attention to the results that it's getting and the like comments that it's getting, or the feedback kind of thing. So then you know what to kind of make in the future on the organic side. But I would say, like, success wise, I would say just how it's engaging and how it's trafficking and how it's impacting the people that are following you. Because that's your number one, like, I don't know, target is how it's affecting your followers, Yeah.
I think that's so interesting that you say that, because now that I think about it, it really is easy to just look like, how many likes did this get? But it's like diving into the rest of the data of like, you could like something while you're just flicking through
and that's
posts.
What you do. Like, people get on social media and they're like, double tapping, like, they don't care.
Sharing it to your story is like, I'll put my brand on this, because it's like you're, so that's a really interesting metric, and I think something to watch out for. And it's interesting even thinking through that, because I realized how little I like anything. Well, as you were talking, I was like thinking through, I was like, I don't think I like anything unless it's like maybe a post a friend put up. But if it's just something that the algorithm shot me, I'm not going to heart it.
No.
So it's very interesting. That's kind of a hot take. I think the name of the episode should be "Likes Are Dead." You know, that's crazy, but definitely something to think about. There's so much more to your organic post than likes and even, I mean, views, but that's big. And I mean, really sharing it to stories are how you get other people to see that content. That's huge.
So what would you say on the paid side?
I would say on the paid side, so there's a little bit of overlap, and I'll start there. And it's definitely engagement in terms of comments. We've talked about this multiple times, and it's so true that that's a great way to get a pulse on the success of an ad. So if people are commenting saying, I cannot wait to see this, that's awesome. This tour, I already bought my item, whatever the product is, that's great. And if people are saying like, what is this? Or like, I don't like this. You're like, all right, different.
What's actually the information?
Change course. Yeah. So I would say comments are a great way to get that. From a paid side, I mean, really click-through rate is a huge one. And I think it's slept on because a lot of times it's like click-through rates are really how you tell if that is the correct audience, if they are engaging and interested. Again, it's not everything. I would never say that any of these KPIs are like the end all, of data. But I would say that click-through rates are huge. Cost, of course, is always good to keep an eye on. Again, it doesn't necessarily dictate the success because there are sometimes just more narrow audiences that are maybe spot on, but they're a little more narrow, so it's going to be more expensive to hit that number. So I would say, engagements, click-through rates. Frequency is one it doesn't dictate the success, but it's definitely something to also keep an eye on. If you're showing someone an ad 14 times, they are angry at your brand at this point. So I mean, really, it's such a cop-out answer to be like, all of these are important, but they play such an important role with one another. And I think they also just paint such a cool image where you can say, hey, this was performing well, but it's not why. Right. And then you look at the frequency and it's like, oh, it's because they've all seen it 10 times. Okay, so like, let's swap out the creative. Exactly. It's a really neat puzzle that you get to kind of piece together all of this data and say, how is this hitting our audience? And so I would say those are some of the ways to tell of a successful within paid. But what we've learned today is that we are not mortal enemies. We
can integrate with each other. We can interact. Yeah,
it's true. And you should be interacting your organic with your paid.
Yes.
If you have any questions,
repurpose.
Yes. And if you have any questions on either, we are being more intentional with our blog, and we will be having some resources for you to be able to dive into that. And that's also why we have this podcast. So
amazing.
Happy to be here. Thank you for.
Thank you. I've loved doing it with you.
Awesome. Well, for those of you guys who are listening, thank you for listening as well. We are signing off, but definitely tune in next week for another awesome episode.
Thanks for joining us for the Wanda Creative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you missed any of the highlights, don't worry. You can get all of the show notes at wandacreative.com/podcasts. And while you're there, sign up for the digital drop to get new episode alerts and also receive the latest digital marketing news, tips, and tools delivered straight to your inbox. Until next time.